Yes, hello. We are live. It's been a while. There's been a bit of a sabbatical or whatever you can call it, a hiatus or whatever it is. But I think it's a given that when the playoffs are on, I think it is a given that we will be away for a while. But now we're back, and we've almost almost all of the first round series are done, and it's been great. But let us talk about that one playoff series which all the writers, all the broadcasters ignored, saying that it's going to be the worst series out of the eight, and they were not broadcasted. But it turns out that's the only series that is still going on, and there's a game seven that's going to happen just about half an hour from now, and that's the Cavs versus Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic. So, as a Cavs fan, let me just get my thoughts out. We should have had this dead and buried long ago, and I'm really, really pissed that this is going on to a game seven, and I have huge doubts whether we'll be able to get this one out of the hump. But I just hope that we do something. It's going to be at our home. It's going to be at the Rocket Field House. The atmosphere is going to be great. It's a game seven. It's been a while since we've had game sevens in our arena, so that's going to be an atmosphere to behold. But there are huge issues in the Cavs, like injuries being one of them. But that's not an excuse exactly. We've had players go absolutely ice cold down the stretch, and not in a good way. I hope all of them turn up in this game somehow. I don't mind even if it's a 1 point win. We just get the W for fuck's sake. That is my only issue.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the series? Like, let's just get that out of the way before we discuss all the important happenings that have happened in the other playoff series.
Yeah, I think at this point you have to pick the home team to win this game, right? Because that's been the trend which has been followed in this series. So Cavs won the first two games convincingly, then the Orlando Magic win the next two, and the Cavs win a tight one in game five, and then Orlando wins a tight one in game six. So it does seem like it's headed for a Cavs victory. I don't want to jinx any of the Cavs fans, uh, especially you and anyone else who'll be watching the stream. But I feel that's gonna be the possible outcome just because the home team has dominated this series. So maybe the Cavs experience that they have counts for no more than the opponent in Orlando Magic, who are still a young team, and this is probably their first playoff experience as a group. And the Orlando Magic team has not been in a very high caliber pressure playoff atmosphere prior to this one. There could be some nerves jangling there as well, so that could come into the game, and maybe they start missing the initial shots, and that could lead to them not performing well. So, I mean, if you consider all those kinds of scenarios, it does seem the Cavs where they have players like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland who just had that slightly more playoff experience, especially Donovan Mitchell, who's been in the West for so many years and who's been part of the Utah Jazz team for a long time. So I feel that his experience is pretty valuable in this game seven. Game sevens are always fun. The crowd is going to be on their feet throughout the game, cheering, especially for the Cavs. So we are going to be watching it. We're going to see how it's going to pan out because this is the series that, as you said, has gone on the longest, which was touted as probably the most boring series of them all in this first round. So it's going to be a tight one, but I think the Cavs will just get this one.
I mean, it's like a great series where you see a throwback basically to the quintessential early 2000s style of basketball, where
Yeah.
it's very physical and it's more on the defensive side. So my question to you is, in today's day and age, where shooting and offensive play has been given more importance, what do you think is more important to winning a ring? Do you think an elite defense and a below average offense? Or do you think an average defense and an elite offense? Which of the ones are you inclining to?
I think, as they say, defense wins championships, right? So I still believe that elite defense with a mid to average offense will do wonders for any kind of team that's aspiring to become a champion. Just look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, for example. They have an elite defense at this point with Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, and Jaden McDaniels. So all of them are like possibly NBA first or second team all defensive players, especially Rudy Gobert, who could possibly win a fourth defensive player of the
Defensive
year
player there.
this season. So if you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't run a very high-paced offense, or they don't run a very they don't have many schemes in their offensive game plan as well. So most of the shots are obviously taken by Anthony Edwards, and then they definitely, as somebody says, he's the best player on the planet. So, but I don't know which Anthony Edwards has come on the stream, but welcome. But yeah, they run around Anthony Edwards and they run around, Mike Conley creating plays. Rudy Gobert is not a very skilled big man, and Carl Anthony Towns does not have a very good post game as well. So at best, they have run a very average offense, which is obviously most of it is guided through their All Star player Anthony Edwards. But as we saw in game one of the series against Denver, which we'll talk about probably in a bit more in detail, the defense is what carried them throughout the game. Rudy Gobert was pretty exceptional in this game, containing Jokic, containing the big man game between Jokic and Aaron Gordon as well, which caused a lot of chaos in their last series against the Lakers. So, yeah, if long story short, basically, I feel that defense is very important. If we've been seeing from the past championships as well, leaving aside the Golden State Warriors, who had a historically offensive season at that point.
Speaking about defense, I think it's only right that we go to the West. Let's focus. I mean, we'll obviously talk about the Lakers in a bit, but let's talk about the other LA team. Who bid farewell to the Staples Center in the most ignominious way possible by taking an L against the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, do you think that so obviously when Y and PG signed together, they had a 3-year championship window from 21 to 20 this season basically, as in that this was their free reign. They were expected to win a championship this year, but now that that window is over, like, do you think that that was the last realistic pathway for the Clippers to win a ring at this point? Because you can see that every team in the West has gotten younger and even more better. Take the Thunder for example. They've been number one seed. They have one of the youngest teams in the side. You
No.
have the Timberwolves who are making noise. You have Denver Nuggets where Jokic is not turning 30 until next year. You have you have the Mavericks who have Luca, who's scary to say that he's still not entered his prime years as a basketball player, and who still probably has much more to learn as well. Then
Yeah.
then you have Lakers who have quite a good who have decent young players in their rotation, and so in all of this, the Clippers are the only team that are old. In fact, they are the oldest team in the playoffs, if I'm not wrong. I think somewhere
Hmm.
around those lines. Despite the fact that Y and PG are brilliant players on their own right, do you think that that window is gone and maybe breaking this whole thing up is the right way to go for the Clippers, or do you suggest that they should run it back?
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, Kawhi and PG signed in the off season of 2019. So now it's been what 5 years since they've been together. Add to the fact that they've been in the playoffs. I think 4 of those 5 seasons, and they've had a long time to gel together. They've been playing for a long time as well. So the window basically started when they signed in the offseason of 2019, and I would still say the best chance they had of winning the championship was in that bubble, because everyone got 3 to 4 months of rest. For players like Kawhi and PG who are kind of injury prone, they got enough rest, and then they got time to revamp their bodies for the playoffs. But obviously, we know that famous, a series against the Nuggets where they choked a 3-1 series lead and lost to the Nuggets in seven.
George
So
Paul made an appearance at the bubble.
George Paul made an appearance, and the entire Clippers team under Doc Rivers was a mess in those last 3 games. So that was probably their best shot in all of these years to win a chip. And what we've seen a regular trend happening is they have a decent regular season whenever they make the playoffs. But then in the playoffs of the last couple of seasons, we've seen Kawhi injured, we've seen Paul George injured. So I think that the luck is kind of running out at this point when the injuries as well, because it does not seem like Kawhi is able to stay healthy. Firstly, he's not able to play an entire season. He's barely able to play 70 to 80% of the season, of the regular season. And then when it comes to the playoffs, it does seem that his body, kind of breaks down. And Paul George is always, he can become George Paul anytime. He can become playoff P anytime. and we know what that is. That is like 30 to 40% field goal. That is 30 to 40% of your shots which you made in the regular season. You're not making in the playoffs, which is very like disastrous for the Clippers. Add to the fact you tried to bring in a point guard which you always lacked previously. You brought in James Harden, and that also did not work out. So now you're at the verge of
Neither did
taking a
Westbrook.
you tried Westbrook, that didn't work out. So now you're at the basically at the end point of this tandem in Paul George and Kawhi. So I do feel that, as you said, the teams are getting much better in the West, and there's other teams like the Memphis Grizzlies or Houston
Yeah,
Rockets.
some
Wemby
of
is
the teams
coming
that
up,
I could
so
not, and even the
yeah,
Utah Jazz have a good
Utah
young core.
Jazz definitely will be better next year. So and the Clippers are not getting any younger, and they do not have any cap space for the future to make to make significant upgrades to their roster. So I feel that definitely there should be a path where they look alternate path where they look at breaking up Kawhi and Paul George. Obviously, Kawhi signed his extension, so it does not seem like he's going to go anywhere. But Paul George might not sign an extension, or he may not be given an extension by the Clippers. So it does. There's a likelihood that he's not a Clipper next season. So
Apparently, Philly are looking at him to pair
yeah,
him with Jojo at this point, and I'm not sure how do you pair one choker with another, but here we go. Speaking
two
of
chokers cancel each other out, and then they become a non-choker. I guess I don't know.
yeah, they tried
So
that with Harden, it didn't work. So
yeah. So now the Clippers have to get a one choker in Paul George, which probably they might they might do at the end of this at the
yeah,
end of this.
but here's my point. Even if they get, I mean, there's no guarantee that they're going to draft well, and there is no, as in, there's it's going to get worse before it gets better. Like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
as you've seen teams who try to build organically through the draft. OKC being a big example. None of their stars are bought except for maybe one season where Chris Paul was with them. I did not see any stars who've been bought over there. All of those players who are there in that OKC roster have been bought in by the draft, which means that it takes years of building a good side through
Except
the draft.
SGA. SGA was through
Yeah,
the Paul George trade. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Apart from, but even then, he was a rookie basically, so was not exactly a star as well when he came in too. So the the problem is the same, that you have to wait for years before you build a side, and even then it's a lot of trial and error. So
Yeah.
the Clipper basically are in a very it's like being between a rock and a hard place, that they
Hmm.
have problems. Even if they break the squad up, even if they keep the side, it's going to be a huge issue going forward. So
Yeah, and what
that
complicates things further is the new arena next season. So they're
yeah,
moving to Intuit Dome, right? So they don't want to go there with a mindset of, okay, we are going to tank in our first season, at the new arena. They obviously want to compete for championships right away, because they don't want to like invest so much in a new arena and start tanking immediately. That won't that will not go well with the number of Clipper fans which are still there in Los Angeles. So
that's
at this
10.
point, Paul
That's
George is
10.
definitely looking out the window. So and the Clippers are going to be worse before they get better. They don't have any means to upgrade. They'll be over the salary cap as well. So they're in a tough spot. So either they just give a Paul George a max extension and just let it play again one more time, or they just start over fresh in a season or two.
Max extension for a 34-year-old sounds
Injury
really
prone
bad.
and a guy who's not a playoff
Who's
performer. So
unpredictable at best in the playoffs.
yep.
Yeah. Speaking about unpredictable, let's talk about the Lakers. I mean, that's a brilliant segue to get into it. So,
Yeah.
the best news for all Laker fans coming out of this week, which is otherwise doom and gloom, is that Darwin Ham was fired. And I think, for those who haven't watched, do watch the video that Aniket made on the Ham situation. Now that Ham is gone, there's still questions remaining about that roster, though. Like, do you stick or twist? Do you stick with
Yep.
LeBron? Do you look for another? Is LeBron ready to stick with the Lakers? What about the rest of the roster? Does it require rebuilding? Do you break it down entirely and build it on LeBron and AD once again? What exactly is something that you want to do? So that is what my issue is. So
Yeah.
I don't. So as a Laker fan, give me your perspective on this entire situation.
Yeah, I mean, so they got to play against Denver in the first round, which was good in the sense that they got to probably match up against the best team in the NBA. So now that they have a bar that they need to reach, there's an understanding of what the team needs to do to get better, or basically what Rob Pelinka needs to do to make the team reach Denver's level. So I think in the series you saw that LeBron and AD did the best they could. They went up, they went against Jokic and Murray, and I would say that was an equal battle fought. But what changed, or what happened in the series, was basically the role players of the Denver Nuggets performed way better than the role players of the Lakers. So when you have players like Aaron Gordon and MPJ, KCP, and even Christian Braun in some aspects, showing up every game. And on the other side, you have either D'Lo and Austin Reeves showing up like once in 2 games or something like that. Then there's a chance that you may not win much of these games, and that's what happened. The Lakers could only manage one win when both Austin and D'Lo played well in that game. So I would say that the mindset of the Lakers management would still be to keep build around LeBron and AD. LeBron has a player option, which at likelihood he will probably decline and sign a new 3 or 2 or 3 year contract with the Lakers. So obviously there is some leverage from LeBron's side as well because he as always wants to win, and he won't sign a contract unless the Lakers show him that they are willing to win. And that is obviously removing Darvin Ham as the first step, which you said has already been done in the last week. And now comes the important fact of building the roster back up. So for me, it does seem that Austin Reeves is going to stick around for a bit more time. But apart from him, everyone is either on the trade block or they're going to take decisions on based on their player options or team options and so on. So as you said in the last part of your question, I think it's going to be like build around LeBron AD again, and and see what they can do in terms of matching up with the best teams, especially Denver.
And to add to all this, how important is getting that coaching appointment right this time?
Yeah,
You all made the appointment with Vogel. You all got a ring for that to show. But then again, the post ring success with Vogel had been disappointing. You got Darwin Ham, you have a conference final to show for, but on the other hand, you have a 9-1 aggregate against the Nuggets in the 9 games that you all have played in a playoff setting. Is that what I'm talking about? So how important it is that this appointment for the head coach has to be absolutely spot on, and you get that coaching appointment right, and how much does that decision weigh on making the franchise a successful ball club on its own?
yeah. I think firstly it's very important for whoever the Lakers decide to hire that they make the right decision this time. Obviously, he has to be someone who can win an in-season tournament. Darvin Ham did that, so they have to find someone who can do that again. That's the motivation, right? So that's probably the first question they might ask in the interview in terms of can you win the in-season tournament or not.
Can you
So,
defend
but
the
can
in-season
you defend
tournament?
it? Correct. But jokes aside, I think that at this point they might have to look for someone more experienced than a rookie. Someone who does not have any coaching experience, like we saw with Davenham. So it's going to be a tricky decision because the names that we've seen come up in the list, like JJ Redick or Kenny Atkinson, Mike Budenholzer. So some of these are obviously coached in the NBA. They've been there for a long time. But a person like or a guy like JJ Redick, who's not coached the NBA, but he has a good relationship with LeBron, as we know from his podcast. So do the Lakers go with a first-time rookie coach again just because he has a good relationship with LeBron, or do they go with an experienced head coach who's been around for a while, like a Mike Budenholzer or a Kenny Atkinson, and see that if experience can bring them something different in terms of leading them to a more success in the playoffs? So I believe it's going to be critical because you're going to look at a coach who ideally has to be there or would like to be there for the next 3 or 4 years. And that's when LeBron also rides off into the sunset, as we all think he would, although we never know at this stage as to how long he's going to play. But we feel that the next coach that's going to come in is going to be there post LeBron as well. So, in that way, it's important.
I have an idea. It's a wacky idea. Let's watch all the podcast episodes from whatever that is there, mind the game, and just put in our coaching resume for the Lakers head coach job. I mean,
how,
we
how
we
was,
at least we at least do a better job than Ham for sure, for
yeah.
sure.
I was thinking that you were going to say if LeBron could be like the player head coach.
No, no, no. That would happen. I was saying let us, go through the entire podcast, just properly understand the fundamentals of the
I mean,
game and all that.
they need new assistant coaches as well, so might as well just do it.
Yeah, exactly. And with three of them, more than enough to do it.
Yeah, one head. Like JJ Redick steps in. We had the three head coaches. We just tell we are subscribed to your podcast. Like Pat Bev is like in the interview, right?
Yeah, at least he won't sack us that we don't say we haven't subscribed to his pod.
Exactly.
Yeah, but jokes aside, I think it's very, very crucial for you all to get that head coach appointment right.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, it has to it has to be made very clear to them that it's going to be a ring or bust season. Like if anything lesser than a ring at this point is to be qualified as a failure. That is how the organization should behave, and that is how an organization befitting the stature of the Lakers should act in its decisions as well. You can see time and again there is a little bit of incompetence when it comes to personnel and roster making decisions, and we've seen that time and time again. There have been instances where it's felt like the team, where the roster hasn't been made properly in the image and likeness of the two stars that you have, and that has to be changed and changed fast. So we've gone through with two of the super teams. Let's talk about another one. And this team is arguably find itself in the most fucked up situation out of all the teams in the West, and that's the Phoenix Suns. This is a ball club that has more than 150 million in already at before the start of next season. They have 150 million plus committed on three players. That's Beal, Booker, and Durant. Good lord, they're fucked, aren't they?
Yeah. So firstly, everyone doubted the Beal trade in the first place as to why it was required because at that point everyone was still on the two-star model and just going for depth. But when they did do the trade, it was more on the side of, oh, okay, their offense is not going to be unstoppable and there's not going to be any defense to it. But then I think teams are very smart these days. Head coaches are very smart. They know how to figure out offense only teams, and that's what happened. Right, they got found out early in the early stages. So they do not have a good record in the regular season, and it's only like towards the second half of the season where they made a push when injuries did not hamper them or when they finally found out their offense.
And more
So
like other teams around them started to fall as well.
exactly. So yeah, I agree to that totally. So I think it was a failed season from that perspective. So KD and Booker have been together for like a season and a half now, and I think the Beal addition was a disaster, particularly because his contract is not the best. Now, if you want to move such a contract, you cannot do it very easily because he's got a no trade clause as well in his contract. That means he can veto any trade to which the Suns decide to do in case he does not like it. So you have that conundrum that you need to
His
solve
health
as well.
issues, his health
Health.
isn't, yeah.
Yeah, he's not the best third star at this point as well. We saw this in the series against Minnesota itself. So I mean, he was not very effective in the series as well. And when he's not effective, then you that only leaves KD and Booker, and then the depth in Phoenix in the roster which they have is not the best as well. So Yusuf Nurkic is not a very good post defender. So he got absolutely eaten by Cat and Naz Reid and all these guys. And then you don't have many good wing defenders in that team as well. So Anthony Edwards just was doing whatever wanted to do at his will. So there's it's one of another big off season for them, and they have to decide whether they need to keep Frank Vogel or not at this point because there were rumors that they might fire him, just after the season because they did not reach their goals, which they wanted to by losing in that first round. So they have to decide on the coaching job as well, whether they keep Frank for another season or whether they go with someone else. So a lot of decisions to be made. I mean, an interesting decision for them would be whether to keep KD or put him on the trade block as well, because he's 35. He's 35, 36. He's not getting any younger as well, as we saw. And dunking all over him in the last game, he's definitely lost his athleticism and he cannot play like any minutes at the center also. So big off season. We have to see what they do.
Do you think they get better or no?
I think the only way they get better is through their minimum signings again, because they are a luxury tax team. They are above the second apron, which means that they will not have access to any of the mid-level $5 million or $10 million contracts, which other teams who are not in that above the second apron can avail. So they cannot give any kind of big money or a medium level money deal to some wing player or something. So the only way they make you know signings or the roster, what do you say, roster additions is through trades or free off free agency signings. So they have very few tradable pieces, right? Because all the money is between
Three
KD,
players.
Booker, and Beal. So maybe they trade Nurkic and get something for him. Otherwise, they just go at the free agency and see who's available. So at this point, I don't see them making any inroads into the top of the leaderboard in the West.
So Phoenix in trouble.
Yeah,
Lakers not really
semi
sure whether
trouble.
they're in. Yeah. Clippers in huge trouble. So who is the other team that couldn't qualify from the West in the playoffs? Let me see.
I
Denver
think
beat Lakers.
we saw the 4-5. We did the 1-8. Pelicans. We have news of the Pelicans as well. Brandon Ingram is not going to be given a contract extension. That's what uh, is latest rumor. So,
All right. Potential reunion to the Lakers. Looks like it.
so I've been hearing rumors that if Cavs lose today and if Donovan Mitchell wants to leave, there could be something there where the New Orleans does a trade for Mitchell or something like that, or they might be interested to
So
swap Mitchell
ooh,
and Ingram.
so New Orleans interested in a swing for Mitchell here. Damn.
Yeah, that's some vague rumors I'm hearing, but obviously it depends on how far the Cavs go and if Mitchell actually wants to stay there or not.
It depends on this game. To be really honest with you, it depends all on this game seven because I know for sure with the way that this offense has played, we are getting swept by the Celtics if we make the
Mm-hmm.
semis. Like there is no two ways about it. We're getting
Mm.
swept, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Because all the key players have gone cold. Man, Struz is not shooting. We
yeah, I
bought
heard.
him specifically for shooting. Niang is gone cold. Uh, Garland looks a shadow of himself. Mobley is putting in bad after bad performance. Not to say, but we literally have players hobbling in the locker room after game six. So all the reporters went into the locker room and you could see every player who's had fucking ice packs on every corner of their body. Each player. So that's how shitty the situation is.
I think it's been a
Let's
very physical series also, right? Orlando's a very physical
very
team.
where that team is
So
physical as fuck.
yeah,
You have the Wagner brothers, you have Jalen Suggs, you have Jonathan Isaac.
Banchero.
Banchero himself is impressively physical.
Yeah,
So it's been very physical. But I've enjoyed the series. Let's get that let's get
I
that
have
fact
as well
straight.
enjoyed. I think it's not. I mean, it's been a mid card series basically. The two teams are probably equal. I mean, that's the reason they finished 4-5 in the conference as well. So it's not been more equal at this
No,
point.
actually, it has to be. If Cavs lose, all the blame has to be on Cavs because this is the exact reason why we tanked in the final game. We were double digits up against the Charlotte Hornets. Just
Mm-hmm.
because we did not want Philly in the first round, we decided to tank. And
Right.
that is the exact reason why we went to fourth and we got the Magic series. So if you're not able to take care of business against the Magic series, then this has to be an organizational blame all around. Because you
Yeah.
had no business tanking that game otherwise.
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah. So moving to the East, let's talk a little bit about Philly. What do Philly do now? They've tried everything possible. You had the emergence of an all-star. You have an emergence of an all-star in Tyrese Maxey. Embiid has arguably played his most dominant stretch of basketball in the playoffs, and yet these dudes have not made it to another Eastern Conference semis. They've been out of the first round once again. What do you
Yeah.
make of that entire Embiid situation, or Embiid, the Philly situation in general? I mean, what do they have to do to make a conference finals at this point?
Again, I feel that while Embiid did play like well, I think he was still dealing with an injury, right? So
Yes,
he was. He's never always 100% for the playoffs, and that is always the biggest concern with him. Whenever he's played in the playoffs. He's going into the playoffs with the back of a very good regular season, where he tries to do his utmost best for the MVP. And then once the playoffs swing around, his body is not able to hold up. More physical games, games where games where he has to play more minutes, and so on. So I don't feel that it's an Embiid problem more than a franchise problem, because their star player is not able to be on the court when it's I know when at 100%. Even when he was there, he was holding his eye, or he had some kind of a face spasm at certain times of the games. So he was coming off the back of a knee injury as well. So it did not feel like he was 100% at this point. And again, when you're playing a Knicks team under Tom Thibodeau, who is like, I mean, who coaches his players brilliantly, who at this point, are a very good team in terms of the defense as well. And they have multiple bodies to throw at Embiid, with Hardenstein and Mitchell Robinson. So that's what bothered Embiid as well when he's not
Mitch
100%.
Robinson is back.
He is, yes. He played in the games as well. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, uh, so basically it's an MB problem at this point. I don't think I think Tyrese Maxey did as well as he could in
Yeah,
this
he was
playoff
brilliant.
series.
He took them to a game 6. So that's
Exactly.
that's the most that he could do
Yeah.
with all due respect to Maxi.
I mean,
That
he
like
scored what 46 points, and Embiid
40,
had the stinker in.
40 he had a 47 pointer, I guess, in game 5.
Yeah, and Embiid had a stinker or something. So basically, they would have lost in game 5 if not for that Maxi game. And then on the other hand, you have a very hot Jalen Brunson playoff series, something he's probably not done before in his career. So that has also come to bite them. And basically Brunson's evolution just continues to be upward at this point. So you
Boy,
got
he's
that as well.
proving. Boy, these guys are proving everyone wrong. To the guys who said that this trade is a failure, me
I know,
included.
I know.
Me
I don't know why the
included.
Mavs didn't work harder to keep Brunson. It's just a failure from the Mavs part on this as well. Imagine
But
Brunson
that's
in that.
me.
But I mean, Mavs got Kyrie in return at the end, so which is fine in that
And
sense.
they have finally made a conference semi as well after quite a while.
After 2022, right? That's when
Yeah,
they last met. So
yeah.
if you would like to conclude on the Philly part, I would say that now the offseason is again going to be important. They're going to have cap space. They're going to have about 30 to 40 million in cap space
Cap
now
space, yeah.
that Tobias Harris's big ass contract comes off their books finally. So, and we spoke earlier, right? Paul George is going to be one of their targets. They might give him the max extension or the max contract. They might throw it at him. So there could be a new superstar trio in Philly next season, and that is probably
Also,
the yeah.
I think if I'm not wrong, the Knicks will have 60 million in cap space too. I don't know, but there is one team that's going to have 60 million in cap space in the
I
offseason.
think
Oh, okay,
Orlando
that's
will
that.
have cap
No, no,
space.
yeah. There's Detroit. Sorry, that's not the Knicks.
Detroit will have cap space, but I don't.
Detroit's going to have 60 in cap space, but I don't think anyone's going to join at that point. So
Yeah. So Philly will be a player in the free agency
free
market. I
agency,
think
yes, absolutely.
they might try to entice LeBron also, since he will become a free agent. So LeBron is going to basically multiple teams can speak to LeBron as soon as he opts out of his contract. So they'll do their due diligence in speaking to him and all that.
But
But I don't think
there's
LeBron
it.
would leave the
You have
Lakers.
to wait. You have to wait up to a certain point, right? Before
LeBron,
you
sorry, LeBron
before
can
you
opt
talk
out.
to free agents. Before you talk to free
LeBron can,
agents,
yeah. So LeBron has time till June 1st till for the opt-in or opt-out decision, and
yeah.
then after that he can start talking. I would say indirectly with teams, and then once free agency opens is when they make this decision and all that. So
It
that's
all
what will
comes
happen.
down. It all comes down to which team drafts Bronny as well. So that's another decision that has to be taken into consideration
Yeah, that
for any team that wants him, Lakers included.
we keep hearing multiple reports on that whichever team drafts Bronny, LeBron would like to go there. But over the last few weeks, I've heard reports that it's all about Bronny's developmental arc at this point. So LeBron is okay that he's okay to not play in the same team as him, but he's only worried about his development arc or something like that. So we get conflicting reports on that. Will only be known once Bronny gets drafted, and we'll see what happens after that.
So I won't be surprised if he goes undrafted. Also, I don't see.
You never know.
I don't really see that upside.
Yep.
Like in his early years, when he was making waves, and compared to now, especially now that he's had an heart incident as well, I'm
Yeah.
I'm not sure how adventurous teams are going to be, in getting him drafted. So I think the best thing he could have done was gotten another year, but I think maybe that's a hasty decision on his part. But I think his father knows better. He's played a bit of basketball, so so
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
What about the Bucks? Let's talk about the Bucks. Is it too soon to talk about them, considering that this was Dame's first season with them, or do we raise questions on the Bucks?
I think we can raise some questions, but we should give them the benefit of the doubt because Giannis and Dame were injured for the majority of the series. So they were without their two superstars for much of it. And I mean, obviously, without superstars, your team is not going to win, despite how good your role
I mean,
players are.
we can pose one question to the Bucks: why Doc Rivers?
Yeah, that definitely we can. I mean, why do you want to hire a serial playoff choker who's relying? The only reason the only reason he gets a job is because of that 2008 championship. So uh, it's strange that they did this mid-season firing of Adrian Griffin and then hired Doc Rivers. So yeah, I don't know what you can say on the Bucks at this point, apart from the fact that we have to see next season when Doc gets a full season with the team and when Dame and Giannis also return from their injuries.
Do
So
we keep it as inconclusive so far for
I
the
would think
Bucks?
so. I would think because as we said, Dame's first season as well, so maybe we should give him some time. I think next season will be more pivotal for them because next season is when they would be there for a season, more than a season now, and Doc also gets his hands on a complete off season in Milwaukee as well. So he's got to say on the roster decisions and on and different tactics and all that as well. So, and you're going to see how Giannis's patience is in Milwaukee because we know he signed the contract extension, but from whatever he keeps saying, he just wants to be in a situation where he can win. And if
Is
he
it
goes another
safe?
year without winning in Milwaukee, it might cause some issues there.
Yeah, is it safe to say that next season we could be on Giannis watch?
I would like to think so. I think it'll be exciting for us fans to see if Giannis does indeed make his mind to go elsewhere from Milwaukee. So we've always seen superstars moving teams, most of them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if Giannis goes through another season without any rings to show for it, without a ring to show for it.
He does have a ring.
Yeah, but he wants to.
Uh,
I mean, as
Wants
we heard
multiple
from the
rings,
interviewer, yeah,
multiple rings.
yeah,
Yeah, fair, 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 fair. Yeah. So
yep.
I think we've covered most of the. Let's talk a little bit about the Eastern Conference semi game that just happened, which is the Timberwolves and the Nuggets.
The Western
Good.
Conference. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the Western Conference. Good Lord, you think the Wolves might make the finals, don't you? Because
yeah,
I
I know,
think
right? I mean,
most of the Timberwolves coaching staff is basically former Nuggets. Have been associated with the Nuggets. So Chris Finch was former offensive coordinator for for the Nuggets. I think even the Nuggets even the even the Timberwolves GM was the Nuggets GM, and there is
mhm,
another person. The assistant coach also is associated with the Nuggets. So that's an
mhm.
entire Nuggets influx right there. The three guys who are
Yeah,
responsible for that title winning machine in Denver have now traded their talents to Minneapolis. And there was an article in the Ringer that I read that the Timberwolves are actually built to destroy the Nuggets. So what do you
yeah,
think? Do you
definitely.
think that's true?
I think it's true. I think they built their team this offseason to tackle the Nuggets, specifically Jokic, because they have three competent big men, especially one who's a defensive player of the year, one who's an offensive machine, and another one who's a six man of the year, and who's pretty underrated as well. So
Nas
from
Reed.
that perspective,
Nas
I think
Reed,
they're
right?
most yeah,
Nas
Nasri.
Reed, right? Yeah.
I think they're very stacked in that department. So Jokic definitely has a much bigger problem. Obviously, AD is one of the best defenders, but when AD is not on the floor, the Lakers don't have anyone to guard Jokic. But when Gobert is not on the floor, they still have a few bodies to throw at him. So I think the Timberwolves have a very good chance to make this or to make the Western Conference Finals, but just for the fact that they have this big man, they have this firepower in their big man department, and also for the fact that Anthony Edwards has risen to be probably the best player in these playoffs at this point, and we saw it today as well. He scored 43 points and He was just cooking any defender in front of him. So basically, we have proved that Anthony Edwards has arrived. And then Timberwolves have a great coach, as you said, in Chris Finch. He's got a lot of experience now with that group, and they have a very good they have very good depth in their roster as well. They have wing players. They have players like Jalen McDaniels, as we discussed earlier, very good defensive player. Mike Conley is an offensive genius. They
Kyle
have
Anderson.
Kyle Anderson, Slomo, who's another wing defender. So they have depth. They have the versatility up front as well. So obviously we should never discount Denver. They are going to be defending the championship. They have the best players. They have the best five in the NBA, starting five. So I think let's wait for game two. Let's see how it is. Game one did show us the Wolves are here to make it a contest. But let's see how game two and then further the series goes. Let's see how it pans out.
Who has home court in this series? Is it Denver?
Denver. Denver.
Oh yeah, Minnesota was 3 seed, correct.
Yes.
Minnesota was 3 seed. Even though they had the same number of wins, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's another interesting series to look forward. I think Cavs magic has begun. I'm not
Yep.
sure.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's at least the opening tip.
Yeah, I think it is. Let's just hope that to do something, man. Yeah, man. I don't have words to say to it because I genuinely, for the first time in this series, in Game 7, I have a bad feeling about the Cavs. Like, genuinely. I feel something bad's going to happen. I'm not sure. So let's hope it's just a
Let's see
feeling
what
and it
happens.
stays. Let's just hope it's a feeling because uh, I want to have that flex on you guys that
Yep.
my team out of us, my team was the one that went further.
We'll be here to
This
talk
thing.
about it tomorrow, whatever happens.
Yeah, what like the Greg couple they've said, whatever happened happened.
Yep.
With that being said, guys, that being said, guys, this is the end of today's episode. We've broken down a lot of stuff. We've spoken about a lot, and as the playoffs go on, we will be speaking in detail, in depth about all this as well. Till then, do like, subscribe, share, do comment, and do hop on our channel for more collabs. Also, go follow our IG for further videos and more. We do takes on multiple sports, with basketball just being one of them. So go ahead, show us some love. Do help us reach 500 subscribers. And for now, this is me and Aniket wishing all of you a good night. Stay safe, take care of yourself, and we'll be back with another episode shortly. See ya.